Next, we need to discuss the two concepts of shortage or surplus. So what a shortage is whenever the quantity that is being supplied is less than the quantity demanded. So a shortage is basically what it says. There's not enough supply out there. There's not enough products out there. The amount that is being supplied by producers is less than the amount that's being demanded. And as a result, prices are going to increase. On the other hand, whenever we have a surplus is whenever the amount that's being supplied is greater than the amount that's being demanded at that single specific price. Whenever that happens, we often see prices fall. So I want you to think about a surplus store. I'm sure you've heard of like a surplus army store somewhere. Why do you go into those stores? Well, usually because it has a lot of products at relatively cheap prices. Well, why is that? Because they have a lot of stuff and they're trying to move it off the shelves, so they lower the prices on it. So what's happening in the surplus store is the amount that they receive in supply, the quantity that they have in their store is usually higher than the amount of demand for those goods. So as a result, they lower the prices to get more people to buy their goods. Whereas in a shortage, if we think about hypothetically a food shortage or a water shortage or something of that nature, or a gasoline shortage, what that means is there's not enough of the product to go around. There's not enough high enough quantity of that product to go around to meet all of the needs of everybody. So the quantity that's going to be supplied at that low price is not quite high enough to meet the demand. So quantity supplied is less than quantity demand. So therefore prices rise. So let's see how this looks on an actual graph. So if we look at back to our table here, now we're going to use these last two columns. If the quantity demanded is higher than quantity supplied, so we see that right here, quantity demanded is greater than quantity supplied, we're in a shortage. As a result, prices are going to rise. What that means is, say, in this example, let's look at beef. And the prices of beef are $1 a pound. If they're $1 a pound, people might consume 15 pounds in a day. But if it's only $1 a pound, there's really no incentive for the producers to produce all that much. So they're going to wind up only producing a half a pound. Well, if there's not that much out there and a lot of people want that product, what happens is the consumers are willing to bid up for it. If you got 3 or 4 different people in a room that all want that half a pound of beef, they're going to wind up bidding up the price. They're going to say, the butcher is going to say, well, the price of this half a pound is $1, and then 4 or 5 customers come in and say, you know, we want that half a pound, and we're willing to pay not just $1, we're willing to pay $1.50 or $1.75. We're willing to pay more for that pound of beef or that half a pound of beef so that we as a customer get it, not the other people. So they wind up bidding up the price. So if there's a shortage, what happens is the consumers demand that product and they will wind up paying more for it. So that continues to happen. So the next week, that butcher realizes, hey, you know, last week everybody wanted this, but I didn't have enough, so I could actually charge more for it and still buy more. And if I charge more for it, that means I'm paying more to the person that's producing this meat. And as a result, they're going to produce more, and then I'm going to still be able to sell it all. So that's what happens. Say the next week, the butcher raises their price to $1.25. They're willing to actually provide more. They're willing to sell more because they're receiving more of a revenue for it. And as a result, now less people want that product, or you may not buy as many pounds of that product, but there's still a shortage. The quantity that's being demanded is 13.9, but the amount that's being supplied is only 1.6. There's still a shortage. And we run into that same scenario where people are willing to bid up the price. So that continues to happen week after week until they get to about $2.15. Now all of a sudden, this butcher is willing to supply 7.75 units, and the consumers are willing to buy 7.75 units. Well, now that butcher's happy. He's receiving the amount of money and he's selling out of all of that product. But on the other hand, let's say he raises the price too high. He goes up to, say, $2.50. Well, now the customers are only willing to buy 4.5 units, whereas the butcher's willing to supply 11 units. Well, there's this equilibrium there. That's not matching up. The amount that people are willing to supply is greatly, or is larger than the amount that people are demanding. So we now have a surplus. So that meat is not being sold, so it's sitting on that shelf. Well, what is that butcher going to want to do? Does he want to sell that meat, or does he want it to let it sit on his shelf? Well, he's going to want to sell that meat, but the only real way to do that is to lower the price. So that butcher must lower their price in times of surplus. And the reason for that is they need to move that product. Especially if you take meat, for example. Meat is a perishable good. If you don't sell that meat, it's going to rot. So they must lower the price in order to sell the meat before it goes bad. Or it's one of the things that it goes in that saying, it's of sell it or smell it. You can either sell it at a lower price, or you can smell it because you held on to it and now it goes bad and now you can't sell it anyway. So as a result, in times of surplus, if there's a lot of products out there, producers are willing to lower the price, or the stores are willing to lower the price, or the market actually lowers the price for them because there's too much out there. So how does this look on a graph? So if we have surplus in grain. Whenever you have a surplus, you have more supply. The quantity that's being supplied is larger than the quantity that's being demanded. So at a higher price of, let's say, $2.50, for example, you have this surplus. And the amount that's being supplied, this quantity supplied, is at this point right here, at about 11 units. The amount that's being supplied is 11 units at $2.50. But on the flip side, the amount that consumers are demanding is right here. So if we take that down, at $2.50, the amount that consumers are demanding is 4.5 pounds. So if we take this difference here, that's that surplus. If these two lines are not beside each other, or not on top of each other, we're in the disequilibrium. And what happens is because this line is too high, it's above that equilibrium price that we specified in the last video of $2.15, the price must fall. It must fall in order to sell off that surplus of goods. So as a result, this line must come down. On the flip side, if we look at times of, say, shortage. Now, let's say prices are at $1.50. So if they're at $1.50, the amount that people are demanding is about 12.5 units. The quantity that's being demanded is right here at this 12.5 units. But how much is being supplied? The amount that's being supplied is right around 3 units. So as a result, the amount producers are only willing to supply 3 units, but consumers are willing to demand 12.5 units. What do you expect to happen? Well, now you've got a bunch of consumers all competing for a small amount of goods. Well, because they're all competing for it, they're willing to bid up that price. In a shortage, the consumers are willing to bid up that price, causing that price to go upwards. So in times of disequilibrium, and disequilibrium is when quantity supplied does not equal quantity demanded. You have two options. In disequilibrium, you're either going to have a shortage or a surplus. Whenever you have a shortage, prices are going to increase because now you have consumers trying to bid up the price because they demand higher amounts of that good. On the other side, in times of surpluses, you have too much of a good out there and people are not willing to pay as much for it. And in order to sell that product, you must drop the price. So one thing to note out of a shortage and a surplus is that prices will always move towards equilibrium every single time. We see that over here, that in times of a shortage, in times of a surplus, prices must fall. In times of a shortage, prices are going to rise. And they're always going to work until they hit this market equilibrium. And once you're in that equilibrium, that market clearing price, that equilibrium price, everybody's happy. The amount that's being supplied is equal to the amount that's being demanded at that single specific price. Everybody's happy, and things tend to stay in equilibrium once they get there until an external force causes a shift in either the supply or demand, which is what we'll cover in the next lesson.